When we don't deploy very frequently, there are a number of dysfunctional behaviors that don't have to be there, but tend to creep in when we're deploying bigger chunks of work. One of those things is that we tackle bigger chunks of work. Instead of taking a big thing and breaking it down into smaller things, we try and tackle that big thing. And because we tackled that big thing and then we deploy it, maybe after a couple of months, maybe after a year, that is unlikely to be edited, right? We're not going back around and editing that code again and again and again. Maybe in 5 years' time, somebody will come back around and add something to that feature. But if we're deploying more frequently, if we're deploying faster, then our deployment window is smaller than the features that we're delivering. So we're thinking about, how do I take this big chunk of work and break it down into smaller things that have value? And if I'm deploying that smaller thing that has value, I'm probably going to be thinking about, well, if customers are using it, I can look at the data of how customers are using it and perhaps change the way I build it. So that's one advantage. But the main advantage from a technical debt, that's from a product value standpoint, the main advantage from a technical debt perspective is that when I'm writing that code, I know that I'm going to have to go edit it tomorrow to add the next slice, and perhaps edit it the day after that to add the slice after that. So I'm thinking more about, how do I make sure that this code is maintainable and supportable and adaptable? Because either me, myself, or one of my colleagues is going to be coming and editing it tomorrow. And you don't want to, I guess there's a little bit of peer pressure, right? You don't want to look bad in front of, like, I shipped some really bad code and my colleague now has to go clean up my mess. That's not polite, right? Because they've got to go edit it again. But even if I'm doing it myself, I'm editing it again tomorrow. I, I don't know if you've ever been in this position, but quite often when you find some nasty code, something that's written very badly, and you want to go look up the blame tool to find out who do I blame, usually it's yourself, right? You're the one who made the mess and you don't remember. So even if you don't want to see yourself that way as writing that messy code, then we take a little bit more care. It's also worth noting that if we're doing hypothesis-driven engineering practices, right, so that we can collect telemetry and data and then validate whether we're actually building the right thing, then we're perhaps only going to invest in the second slice if it's worth investing in it, if users are connecting to it, if there's still desire to continue to invest in that feature. So quite sometimes, I was going to say quite often, but sometimes we actually want to do a quick job on the first slice. So we're choosing to incur technical debt, knowing that we're going to be looking at the telemetry, looking at the outcome and seeing whether it resonates with users and whether we continue to invest in it or we take that chunk back out, right? So this frequent deployments can not only help developers tackle technical debt issues, because it just makes it harder to incur technical debt, right? We make it easier to write good code, because if you're deploying to production at the end of the day, it needs to be production ready by the end of the day. It needs to be production ready every time I edit the code. It needs to be production ready. You're potentially doing continuous delivery, right? Everything that makes it into main ends up in production. Every commit perhaps makes it into production. So reducing those gaps enables us to reduce technical debt, because we know we have to do a better job. It enables us to understand our customers' needs better, because we can see them interacting with the partial thing we have built in order to get telemetry and feedback. And these small changes help build confidence, not only with the customer, but build confidence in the build confidence in the product itself, build confidence in our ability to deliver and continuously deliver those small changes. So when the systems that we're working on are big and complex and have lots of interactive parts, that's when we want to be delivering smaller and smaller changes so we can see immediately when things go wrong. Obviously, we need telemetry and we need observability of our system to be able to do that. But this is one of the core practical steps that any engineering team, any developer can take, is make the batch size smaller, right? And this works in a lot of cases, but in this particular case, if you're delivering code to production, reduce the batch size, increase the frequency of delivery deployment to production, and you will see an improvement in the code. You will see an improvement in the product, and hopefully that will result in happier customers.